and Mike Nelson. He was born and raised in Billings, and in fact, his father was very active in politics in Billings. He was a legislator for some time. I worked with him a great deal and got to know him, and Ruth and I both knew his mother especially. She was very active, all kinds of things, as Mike can attest to. And we were really delighted to have our connection with him. In fact, the last session that I served, I was chairman of the Labor Committee and on the Senate, and he was chairman of the Labor Committee on the House, and we coordinated with each other and had a joint meeting for helping all the committee members at the end of the session. That worked out really well. And I go on to tell a little bit about Mike Nelson. He attended Meadowlark Elementary, William James Junior High, West High, and Eastern Montana College. So he was here in Billings, and he has started a career in hospitality in Nevada, in Las Vegas, and he was a human resources and operations person for a major hotel there in Las Vegas. And he moved to Billings in 2008 to take over with his brother Chris the Northern Hotel, and they have done a marvelous job of renovating the hotel and making it one of the center points of the city of Billings. I think we're all proud of that and the work that he has done. So we're delighted to have Mike with us. I didn't intend to give you a long bio. I'll leave that up to you. You're the candidate, and we would invite you to say anything else that you would like to add to your uh, background.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. It's really neat to be here at the crack of dawn. But I've been up for a couple hours because I wanted to make sure to make this meeting. I think I signed in at 7:02 or something like that to make sure I could get in.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I got to tell you, I think my first real introduction to government and was a long drive to Bozeman with my dad. We might have been going to Bozeman, but there were a bunch of signs on the road, and I said, "Dad, what is Tom Tao for Con?" And he proceeded to take the next couple hours and tell me about the Constitutional Convention and how important it was. That was a really important thing for my dad. And I think in the Labor Committee, he worked on workers' comp reform, and he was worried about this big unfunded liability that Montana had with run out on workers' comp claims. He was an insurance agent his whole life. And I sold life insurance by day, no, life insurance by night and guns by day to work my way through college. And uh, I don't know where I was going with that, Tom, but I did want to let you know that I still see those signs along the highway in the back of my head once in a while. Um, so, yeah, as Tom said, I am a candidate for mayor. I'm the candidate with the second best mustache in this race. The other one, I think that prize goes to Mr. Boyette there. And if you could show your face, Mike, everybody would see why I think you have the best mustache in the race. Um,
There you go.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Billings, and I'll give you the Spark Notes version because the last time I did this, I went a little bit long. I get excited about my time in Billings. I was born and raised on the 2600 block of Broadwater. My dad would give me 25 cents for mowing the lawn, and we would go ride our bikes down the block to Softies for a corn dog after that, because that was kind of the highlight of my week. Stayed there until mom and dad built a house on Moon Valley Road, and we moved to the Heights in my just before my senior year. Um, I went to West High School, and that's where Judy and I met. We started dating in our junior year at a restaurant where we worked. I was the cook, and she was one of the waitresses. And we started dating, and actually almost never stopped dating. We're still dating, as a matter of fact. Um, she's the one reason that we moved to Las Vegas. She got a job teaching special education in the school district there. And even though I said that if she took the job, she'd never see me again, she said, "See ya." And we were married about 3 months later. And, I had a degree in economics from Eastern, but I didn't really know what to do with it in Las Vegas. And so when I had the choice of either going to work as a pest control guy or going to work in a workers' comp cost control company, I took the test job. And I ended up in hotel industry. My first job was in human resources in the Imperial Palace. It was the seventh largest hotel in the world, and I worked there for 10 years. And then I took the next 20 and worked at a few other places. I had workforces between 1,000 and 11,000. That was my last job. I was in charge of all the people at Bally's, Paris, and the Rio hotels in Las Vegas. So about 11,000 rooms, about 11,000 to 13,000 employees, depending on the time of year. I bring this up. I think it's important because um, the budgets in those places, especially in the last, were larger than the city of Billings. So I got to have a lot of experience making and spending money and making sure that the accounts balanced and the budgets were good with black numbers at the bottom at the end of the year um, in a real large operation. So in 2008, my father died suddenly, and my mother was sick, and so I came home to take care of her. I was her caretaker, but she was fighting cancer at the time, and it was a bit much for her. And so when the treatments quit working, I got to have that talk with my mother, and she told me that she was done fighting, and she was gone in 2 days. It was amazing. It was heartbreaking too to watch what a disease like cancer can do to somebody's body when they quit fighting. It just took her over, and she was gone. And so there I was on Moon Valley Road in their neat little house that they had with no real prospects until one day I was outside working in the garden, and the phone rang. It was my little brother, and he said, "Hey, so what are you going to be doing?" And I go, "I didn't really have an idea." He says, "Let's go into business together. And what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, geez, I can either bag groceries or I can run a hotel, but I can't do much of anything else." So we decided the hotel would be the better version, and that's how the Northern Hotel came around. Um, we bought the Northern in January 2009 on the steps of the county courthouse in a sheriff's auction. Uh, it was one of those big purchases, almost like an impulse, because we had a day to look at the building and then decide if it's something that we really wanted to do. And I can tell you that buying a big hotel at a sheriff's auction is easier than buying a car. It takes one signature. You hand them the check, they hand you the keys, and then all of a sudden you're alone. You have all this great excitement build up, and then boom, it's over. So Judy went home to Las Vegas that day. Chris went home to Bozeman, and there I was sitting up on the northwest corner of the hotel in January, thinking about my beautiful executive life in Las Vegas. It was sunset, and then it started to snow. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? I broke into tears, and they weren't tears of joy, I might add. And that was it. I was an owner. So we spent the next 4 years putting the hotel back together. For a while, I was the city's largest customer at the sanitary landfill because everything came out of this building, including 4,000 tons of asbestos. And we started my brother and I started putting it back together. That took, like I said, about 4 years. We had the Great Recession in there, so the family ran out of money, but we stayed dedicated to doing it. And we opened in 2013 with, I think, one of the most beautiful designs and interiors of any hotel. And I've been to a lot of them. So uh, we dedicated the business to Billings, and our first mission in the community was to just be a good neighbor to our fellow employees, to the people in Billings, and to our surrounding businesses. And so to do that, I started getting involved in the community as much as I can. And so I've served in the last few years, 15 years on the Big Sky Economic Development Board as their chair and in their executive committee. I was on MSC Foundation and I helped raise money for the science building and raise money for their foundation for scholarships. Um, the Billings Chamber of Commerce on their executive board. I was their chairman also. I'm looking around. I did a lot of public safety things. We sponsored public safety seminars for our neighbors. Our first one was in 2018. We had attendees there. I bought donuts for everybody, and I think we pretty much bought out the town because 200 donuts is pretty big. But we had a lot of our elected officials, from the mayor to the commissioners to the police chief and a number of other people, to talk about public safety and really start getting the issue, at least in my mind, out in front of everybody. I've hosted a number of those safety seminars. I got involved in TED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. I think I helped fund that program through donations to the chamber. Town Association adopted that too. I was involved in Citizens for Safer Billings as the treasurer. I don't know why they asked me to be treasurer. I can't, I don't think I balanced my checkbook in 20 years, but there I was. I was treasurer. I was out campaigning and contributing to the cause myself. And that effort led in the passage of the safety levy. I remember getting it on the ballot was a nerve-wracking thing for me. So I began a program of talking to a city council person or the mayor as often as I could. And every day I'd see a policeman on the street and I'd ask him what the incident number was that day. And then I'd make sure everybody knew how many hundreds of police incidents we were having every day. And we got it on the ballot and it passed. And that led to $7 million more for fire and city police and mental health. And I'm not trying to take full credit for this. I just tell you I played a part in it, and I'm pretty proud of that. So I've gotten some awards, outstanding alumni from the MSUB, Man of the Year, I think is what they called it for the chamber. But I think one of the things I'm most proud of, and I think Mr. Boyette may have had a little bit to do with this. So thank you, sir, if you were. I got the Citizens Award from the Billings Police for our efforts. And then finally, Small Business Award for the Small Business Champion of the Year in 2020. And that's from my efforts to bring in new businesses to town, to help develop the small businesses around my neighborhood. That's downtown, even the ones that might compete with me a bit. Um, so I hope I'm communicating to you that I just wanted to make a difference. I just wanted to help in Billings. And it has been incredibly fulfilling for me. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm really humbled by the way the city of Billings has accepted the Northern, my family, and me. And I just really want to give back. That's what I want to do. And I'm proud to be a candidate for mayor, and I'm proud of the efforts that we're making right now. It seems that the campaign is warmly accepted. I know we're still in the honeymoon period, and I'm going to hear some naysayers, but right now it's been a really great run, and I've really enjoyed it. And I've gotten tired too. It's interesting how talking to people can wear you out. So that's my intro. Usually that lasts an hour and 10 minutes. So um, I cut it down for you, Tom.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And we, as I indicated, want to have as much time as possible for questions. So I'll ask if anyone
Tom,
else has questions.
Tom,
Yes, Carol?
I want him to clarify something he said he did with environment. You went by it real quick. It was had some SC or whatever.
CPTEDs, they called it CPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design.
Oh,
So that's a program uh, of observing and auditing situations in the real estate or in the physical environment that a business sets. And they look at places like nooks and crannies where people or criminals could hide. Excuse me, bushes, lighting, uh, welcoming environment for criminals or people who are not, those kind of things.
oh,
And then the audit, which can be like for the northern, I think we had the first audit in town. It was about 100 pages long of specific little items that are encouraging people to criminal activity or to hide out or go do drugs on your property, and then specific suggestions of things to do to avoid that. So that's SEPTED.
yeah. Could you give me some
Okay.
contact with that in the chat?
Contact with that? You mean so like the downtown authority, the downtown business authority, they do SEPTED,
Well,
and Billings Chamber of Commerce. Dan Brooks is the
okay.
SEPTED.
Billings Chamber. I'll check with Billings then.
Yeah.
Chamber. Thank you.
Well, probably the some of the big issues that are coming up, we've heard already a little bit about it. Do you think that the mayor has sufficient authority to do anything of any significance? As you know, with our system of government that we have a charter for, we have less made it very clear that the city administrator is the one that has the control of all of the employees, not the mayor. It is the city administrator that does all of the day-to-day activity. The mayor is expected to go out and cut ribbons for new buildings and new businesses and be the kind of personal representative uh, for to the people. Does the mayor have enough authority?
They do. They do. I like the mayoral form or the city government form that we have here with a professional running the show. I tend to run the northern like that. We have what's called an executive committee. There are 5 people on it, and then including myself. Everybody has an equal vote. They can even out override me if they see fit. And I set the tone, I set the vision, and I tell people that these are the things that I would like to see the Northern do in big 30,000 foot chunks. And then it's up to them to accept it and go out and execute. And I think that's the form that we have here. So yes, the mayor can't get in there and say, this pothole right here is too bumpy and we need to redo this. I suppose they can if they want, but those are the things that are up to the professionals to take care of. Because if I were mayor, I'm sure that there would be people that are more qualified than I to talk about the chemical composition of the asphalt going on the street. But if the mayor communicates the vision as to how that street is supposed to operate and how it's supposed to look and leaves the details to the professionals, then I think it's operating the way it needs to. In Billings, the mayor, in my opinion, is a great, for lack of a better term, cheerleader and leader of ideals. So it's up to the mayor then to communicate the vision for the city in short and long-term increments, get the buy-in from the city council, and march them, if that's the word you want to use, down the road to attaining those goals and ideals. So big vision stuff. The mayor needs to set the tone and pass the ideas along to the council on how safe do we want Billings to be, and what type of activities do we think we need to undertake to make the city safer. Or how much do we want to prioritize infill of the downtown area and rehabbing of the buildings, and where do we want to get in the next 5 years regarding those? And then rather than going around and I'm not saying people are doing this now, but this is my example, rather than walking around and complaining or pointing out that this particular window is using the wrong color window frame, leaving those type of decisions and those type of authorities to the professionals, because that's what we pay them for. So I think there's a lot of ability for authority there in a mayor, but the authority comes through their ability to lead, their ability to elucidate and explain the vision, and getting the people to buy into that vision of Billings.
So you would not support the ideas that Bill Kennedy had recently mentioned that we need a stronger mayor.
Well, I'll tell you, that was a hard no at that particular time for me, because I agreed to campaign for the weak mayor, and I didn't think that I wanted to give up everything else in my life. But this kind of goes back to what a number of council people said in those meetings, is that our our electorate gets the opportunity every 10 years to review our city government and amend it. And I was privy to, and not really active, but I was privy to, and I participated in a number of meetings to encourage people to review it. We've had that vote. The folks said, leave it the way it is. It's pretty cool now. I might get involved the next time it comes around to encourage people to make some changes. But I think you got to dance with them that brung you right now. And the city, the electorate have spoken. They want the city government to remain the way it is. So let's go with it, and let's fix what we got to fix with what we have.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Ruth has a question. Go ahead.
Hi, Ruth.
You're still muted.
There. Is the city council too large?
No.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. The shortest answer I ever gave.
It's like
It sounds like Mike Mansfield. Well, okay. In that regard, yeah, there is a movement to reduce the size of the city council, and there are reasons. I guess both. I guess I should ask you, why do you think that we shouldn't do that?
Well, a number of things. Our if we reduce it down to half, I think it was a 50% reduction. So it'd be what, 6 or 7 person council. Now each one of these people, now we have two right now, and they get to split the work. And now you have one for this, for was it 23,000 voters? That's a lot of phone calls. That's a lot of meetings and a lot of other things. So, you pretty much dilute your time that you need to concentrate on the issues or be prepared for the council meetings. So we're going to be doubling the work of a part-time citizen legislator or citizen council person. And so you probably won't be as productive, especially near the end of their terms. They're going to be pretty burned out. That's my first. The second, I think, has to do with the fact that 11 is not too large. So look at that. Look at boards like Big Sky Economic Development or the Chamber of Commerce, or even the Moss Mansion Board, which I'm on still after 16 years. Those are large, right, Ruth? And you know what? The Moss Mansion is the only city-owned property when you compare it to like the Depot and the Babcock that doesn't come to the government for money. They're self-sufficient and they run like enterprises. And they do that because the leaders have set a vision. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we want to accomplish. And then they let the folks go out and accomplish it. So I think Big Sky Economic Development, between their two boards, when I was chair, had 35 people on it, and we were effective. We brought in Rocky Vista University. We helped bring in Coca-Cola. We worked toward funding the study and the construction of the Riverfront Park, and a lot of other things coming down the line. So large boards can be productive, but it's all about the vision thing.
Okay, we got two people here with their hands up. Carol, we heard already. We'll go to Margie first, and then go back to Carol.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike, during my time in the legislature, I really enjoyed and learned a lot about how the TIF district and the South Billings Urban Renewal District was working, and was pretty impressed with how much it was, how much of a tool it was for economic development and infrastructure, and actually investment in schools and kids and safe paths to schools and healthcare at Orchard School. I'm just wondering from your vantage point how you feel about our TIF districts in Billings, how they are working, and good, bad, or indifferent, what you're seeing as someone who is in the heart of downtown.
Okay, I love TIF districts. If for no other reason than they're the only economic development tool that we have. So it's the only card in the deck, right? And full disclosure, the Northern Hotel received a pretty sizable TIF grant when we were under construction. And so used correctly and imaginatively, I'm going to throw that word in because it's important. TIF districts can really do what they need to do. So here's the Northern story. There were about 2.1, almost $2.2 million worth of projects in the hotel that qualified, 2.2 out of about $30 million worth of construction. And our agreement initially was that once we made the payment on those things, we would open on March 15th, 2013. And on March 16th, the city would be at our door with a check for 2.2 million. I can't tell you how excited I was for March 16th. But one of my a person who later became a friend, Peggy Gagan, came to me one day and said, "Hey, you guys want to help with parking in the downtown?" It's like, sure. Well, we need a new parking garage. And so one thing led to another, and the Empire Garage idea and designs were drawn up. So here's the cool thing, or if not, Greg Kruger came to me and said, "Hey, we're a little shy on being able to bond for the construction of the Empire, and we need your money." So what I did is I agreed to, it's not really a loan, but just to leave the $2.18 million in the TIF district. And that gave them the cash to bond it. So basically this was an interest-free loan to the city, to the downtown association of that money. And we agreed that we would get a portion of the increment every year for a period of up to 12 years. So that's how we would get paid back. And I was a little disappointed to see that money go out. But what we ended up with was a beautiful public-private partnership between Billings and the Northern, and in a retail unit too. So it's a really cool condo association. The TIF district's value grew so quickly that the city paid me back in 2 years instead of 12. That's a success story, because instead of having to wait 12 years for the increment, for the schools having to wait that for their money, and the city, and all those assessments that come to the city, and then the state money going there, they got it in 12. And now the TIF district has a value a lot greater than it would if the Northern were still dark. So it gets rid of urban blight. It's the best tool that we have. And I do appreciate what each of the three districts that I've talked to are going through, especially over there, the eBird, they're at the beginning. It's just germinating as an idea. I think that you guys over at the city approved moving a tire shop, and so that we could infill there. It's like, this is the beginning, and those things are going to generate momentum, and we will have more tax revenue. I mean, we need that's what we need. We need to fund the city, and that's how we do that because that's our tool.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol?
Yeah, my concern, Mike, is that a lot of businesses are being torn down and you're left with just gravel lots, basically. And
Yeah.
they're gonna rebuild on some of them, but I don't know, the more I see the building and the lack of landscaping, I'm talking about green space through the town. I'm seeing buildings more as a sterile, just brick, mortar, cement, and that's it. And I think
Hmm.
that detracts from the beauty of the city had.
Yes. Yes. Are you talking specifically of downtown or?
Mainly, yeah, because that's where a lot of it is, but it's all over the town. And we're not connecting. We're not looking at where things are being torn down that could connect to the stuff that's still green. One of the most impressive things I've ever seen was in Great Falls, where they have green space that goes through the whole town, and they don't have trouble with critters being all over the place because they're right there, and everybody avoids them, and they can migrate through the town without any trouble. And the people really don't have the problem as much with the animals coming through. And I mean, even foxes and things like that, which we don't ever see.
Yeah, I learned last night about similar situation like that in Billings, the lakes over by Shields, and then the green space along King Avenue that was imaginatively thought of and done as a public-private partnership. I thought that was pretty cool. I'll tell you what I hate driving by is the empty lot where the Gazette sits and north of that.
Yeah.
As a guy with a big ugly brick building in the middle of downtown, I dream of for that lot a mixed use facility that where we could have some meeting space, I think convention, but whatever, some a beautiful some beautiful housing, and it could be market rate or mixed rate, or it could be you name it, but it's a nice mixed use place with some pocket parks or some green space or at least an outdoor, maybe above ground park. It's already I've spent about 500 million in my mind on that idea, but we deserve that kind of stuff. And it's those kind of developments that first we need housing in downtown, right? I think we have a deficit of about 1,600 not hotel apartment units. We do need more retail here as a reason. So, we could infill those things with the correct stuff. And I know that the Ryans are building a beautiful new gas station and casino on that corner. And I think that's a good use for that area. But personally, I'd like to see, more inner city stuff that is pretty and shiny right now and new and would bring young people and old to downtown so that we could, work on our workforce problems and things like that too.
Yeah, that lot also is close to the library, which would be a nice place for people to go after they got their books or whatever and sit down and
Uh,
read.
I love that library, and it's got a really rich history with the architect that they chose. I've spoken to Don Olson a lot about that, and we have issues with the library for upkeep and even maintenance right now. I know it feels like it just opened, but there are things that we can do with that too. It needs to continue to be that's a beautiful building, and whoever came up with those ideas and the design for that should be applauded because that in itself is a work of art. It's a creative masterpiece, in my opinion, and it's something that we should be celebrating the way maybe in a bigger way than we are right now. But I know libraries and books are, but it's a cultural thing. So, those are things we should be talking about and celebrating.
Okay, Margie?
Thank you. I'll jump in again. Along that line and talking about green space, and I really don't know the answer to this question, but it seemed to me like it, couple of years ago, maybe it was more because time flies now that I'm getting older.
Hmm.
There was really a robust conversation about building a greenway that connects Metra to downtown and having a shuttle and just really developing that old, what would have been Fifth, corridor and doing, I just thought it was a great idea and that it would have also enhanced and promoted the prospect for housing downtown and more families and people going biking back and forth and just wondering if you know where that might be at and is it just waiting for funds to come in through eBird or the commissioners or where are we with that?
I have no idea. I do remember. I can picture it in my mind. With the idea was light rail that went east to west and came downtown, and then served Metra, which is sorely needed. We used to run shuttles from the northern to the fair every hour during the fair as a public service, and it was cool because those shuttles were packed. But yeah, we could definitely use something like that. I
I
think
can
the
add a
Go
little
ahead.
bit of that. Harris Fag was the person that thought we got a railroad tie railroad with all the existence already there, and why don't we just go ahead and get through and use that railroad to you right away to have connection between the downtown and the metro. And he actually tried to get it going. And the first thing that he ran into was somebody on the route that had said absolutely not, they would not join with us, and that killed it.
But
So
Wow.
this is a re kind of imagination of that, Tom, that's very current. That I feel
it's
like
a great idea.
it's still there. The other one, I just wanted, speaking of rail, since someone brought it up, something that we at Big Sky 55 Plus are quite passionate and committed to is twice daily passenger rail going two ways through Billings. The what was the old Hiawatha line, and that also would be an immensely beneficial corridor for older adults and just actually almost a million Montan or 900, I think it's a million Montanans live along that route or in a county that is adjacent to that route, like Muscle Shell and Carbon. They're not on the route, but they are easy drive down to, let's say, Billings to jump on a train to Bozeman or Missoula or Helena. In other words, it's not just about long distance. It's about someone coming in from Miles City, Glendive, or Forsyth for, even for the day, if not an overnight, to see a doctor or to shop or to go to a play. Anyway, that is something that I would love to see a lot more unity and energy around because it is a viable and important transportation option in our future, I hope. I don't know what what your thoughts are on that.
I'm a proponent. I have given to the rail authority.
Big Sky
That's
Passenger Rail, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I testified to a couple of committees in Helena this year for it in bills that went down in flames, I think. It had to do with, helping fund the authority. And interestingly enough, the railroads were against it because they didn't think public funds should be used to build railroads. Um, so there you go. But listen, imagine as a matter of fact, I think I even talked to Mr. Kennedy once about whether I could buy the train station or not if we're going to have rail here. But it's a big deal, right? We could have two east-wests. Eventually, the plan is to have a north-south, which would make us one of the very few rail stops in the country with east-west, north-south access. It would make us a traffic hub. I know there's a cost to all this, but I don't believe the cost is prohibitive. Um, Here's what I think is that someone who is in Miles City and needs to come to Billings, the there's a senior component there in Miles City that do need to come to Billings. And in Wyoming too, we see this at the hotel. Quite a lot of people come and stay here just for medical attention. And if
Mm,
you could get here in the morning, go to your appointment and get home at night, or get here in the morning and stay at the Doubletree Hotel or the Northern, what a great time. I
yeah,
mean,
it's good for the
Livingston,
city.
Miles City, that kind of stuff. But Margie, I think there's a bigger theme here with your questions, and that is, what's stopping us from having these big, hairy, audacious goals that maybe are going to be out of our reach, right? But that we can aspire to approve. Like the One Big Sky project, I worked on that for 4 years, and it went down, but we got close. And everybody said, "Oh, geez, nothing like that is ever going to happen." Well, because it was too big, too audacious, because we were talking about $1.5 billion of improvement in downtown Billings. Well, look at the project that's happening with Intermountain Health right now. That's $1 billion plus. And I think in part inspired by this beautiful master plan that we paid for to talk about transitional inspirational plans for the city. I think we need to think big. I think we need to be bold and excited about our possibilities for greatness. I used to tell my boss, okay, this is a project we're going to shoot for the stars, but probably have to settle for the moon. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I like all those kind of things.
Just one last comment, because you mentioned it. It went down in flames. It actually went through the House, and our own representative Denise Baum led she sponsored it, and she really did a good job on that. And
Yeah.
it went all the way through the House, which I was shocked that we got it through the House. Bipartisan vote in committee, bipartisan vote on the floor of the House. It went through and out of the committee in the Senate. It died on the floor of the Senate, 25-25. And
Oh,
it
well, that
was
ain't
our
flames.
own people who voted, some of them no. And that's another real pet peeve I have, which is if you look at Butte, if you look at Missoula, if you look at Bozeman, if you look at Helena, those legislative delegations, they all go to bat. They all go to bat for their community, whether it's the Heritage Center in Helena, that
Hmm.
they all pitch in and they make something like that and bring it across the finish line. And we send people to Helena who stand up on the floor of the Senate and say, don't say I'm from Billings. I don't represent Billings, as Senator Barry Usher said in 2023 on the floor of the Senate. That's what we have to deal with in our legislative delegation. I think people don't realize how lame and poorly we are represented in Helena by our folks. Sorry for me to go off on that, but it is frustrating. So I'm done.
Okay, Jack Klonbeck.
Yes, I agree with you, Margie, on that one. It's awful to see what our legislators do. Um, but thank you, Mike, for talking about a lot of things that are of interest. Um, and you've sort of touched on a lot of what my question is, but I just am curious to know what your uh, imagination is for the city of Billings in the next 10 years. I was in Bozeman over the weekend, and that downtown is just vibrant. Uh,
Yep,
and it's significantly different from the downtown in Billings.
it is, isn't it? Although we had a pretty good weekend, I think we made some good revenues this weekend. The downtown authority has some events like the farmers market, and that brings folks. But downtown is a little different in Billings than it is in Bozeman, that's for sure. And I wonder how long the Bozeman downtown can last, like that. I think pretty soon they'll probably have to segregate that off to be a historic district and let what's happening on 19th Street over there probably take over. But here's what I think is going to happen in Billings. We just not just, but about 20 years ago with this idea of what I think we called the Beltway back then, and now it's Skyline Trail. We pretty much guaranteed that Billings will hit 200,000 people in the next, I'm just guessing, but 7 to 10 years. That's that's such rapid growth. I watch that happen in Las Vegas, and it can be managed. But Las Vegas had a way of funding things, and when I was there, at one point we were opening 2 or 3 elementary schools every week. I mean, hundreds of schools, and so we don't have the ability to do that. I think we really need to manage that growth. Um, and I am concerned. I think we need to plan for that. And I know the city council has been working on that, and I think that's a great thing. And I'm looking forward to being able to roll my sleeves up and start that plan. Because policing the next mile of road isn't not a mathematical progression. It's kind of a geometric progression, right? That's what they taught me at public finance at Eastern Montana College. And so where do we come up with the people first, and then how do we come up with the money to pay those people to patrol the streets and take care of the infrastructure in there and all that other good stuff that comes along with rapid growth? I mean, just drive the trail now, you're going to see dozens of for sale signs. So that's where I think we're heading. My vision for it is a beautiful gleaming downtown. Um, I think every mayor that I've gotten to know since I moved here, they've all agreed, and I agree that a healthy city starts with a healthy core. Otherwise, you have this urban donut hole, or what I like to call an urban cinder hole, and we don't want that. So we need to continue to develop and encourage the development in a proper manner of downtown. And then, whenever you need a vision, I know this is a little off topic, and I apologize, but when I drive home at night, there are a lot of times I just head up to the rims and stop and look at all the twinkling lights out there. I'm corny and I'm kind of a romantic, but every time I see one of those lights, I realize there's a number of families under each one of those. And I think they all want the same thing for Billings that we do, which is a good culture, economic vibrancy, and safety. And I think all those three things go together towards making a good life for a lot of folks in Billings. And that would be my main vision, or at least the guiding principles that I would like to move to.
Okay, Lee Nixon.
There, I think I have everything off. Billings is kind of a linear city. On one side, we have the river. On the other side, we have the rims. The heights kind of can only get there about 3 places, past the fairgrounds, by the airport, and then way on out at a road, Zimmerman, a road that's sometimes open, sometimes closed.
Mm.
It seems there's a lot of things that are working against the downtown core. What do we do?
Well, as a business person, when I need customers, I got to listen to them and give them what they want, plain and simple. So if I had a $55 hamburger at Bernie's Diner, I wouldn't see anybody for lunch. You have to use the tools in your bag. And the first tool that we have for downtown is this Downtown Billings Partnership and the Downtown Billings Association. And they're doing the best they can with the resources they have to help improve downtown, but they also do events, and those things help. I think with one of the latest projects they're trying is the the two-way streets, which are going to open this morning, and I've already seen some confusions on the way to work this morning. That's going to be fun. So you might want to stay off the roads for a day or two. Um, but it continues. So it's interesting. When I lived in Las Vegas, we would drive from my house to the Hoover Dam for an afternoon of fun, and then we'd have fried chicken at the restaurant in Boulder City, and that was like a 45 minute to 60-minute drive. We didn't think anything of it. And then I moved to Billings, and I drove 14 miles through a cornfield, and people who drive that same route say traffic in Billings is abhorrent. So it's a matter of changing minds and giving them what they want. I think that's first and foremost. So if we have the nice facilities down here and we continue that economic growth and vibrancy that started about 15 years ago, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Let me ask a question. We haven't really got into it. You're obviously going to need a lot of support from not only Republicans and Democrats, but for all people. What are your thoughts and concerns about the environment, for instance, and some of the issues on whether or not we are sufficiently uh, taking care of the the matters that are really important to health and safety in our community. Uh, where do you stand on environmental issues?
Um, so nobody's ever asked me that question before. I'm sitting in one of the state's largest recycling projects, and that'd be the Northern Hotel. And as a matter of fact, we were recognized for that by, hold on, it's here, the Yellowstone Historic Preservation Board, and that we didn't tear down 400 cubic million yards of cement and brick and then, burn a lot of energy putting up a different building. I like adaptive reuse. I like all that stuff. I think, as my dad thought, that we need to be good stewards of the resources that God gave us on this earth. And I'm the first guy to love walking through the woods and appreciating the fact that they're there. I do believe that the resources are here for us to use, but we need to steward them. We need to make sure that we're not just freaking bulldozing over every forest in the world. So I guess I'm a middle of the road kind of guy on that.
Okay, and how about parks and recreation? How significant and important is that to our to what we do in Billings, Montana?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it's about as high as it gets. Okay, so for the idea of those three tenets of improvement to happen, one of them, remember, is quality of life, and those are culture and also outdoor recreation. And I'll tell you, I got a few statistics that I'll give you generally. I won't quote them because I'm not sure I got them perfectly correct, but recently, CNBC they do an annual study and they release their results on best places to do business in America. Okay. Now, everybody believes that Billings is a great place to do business, but the reality of it is that Montana, who last year was 46th out of 50 as places to do business, this year is 48th. And the reason we're 48th is that our workforce is ranked 50th in the country. And one of the big reasons is that we don't have people willing to move to Montana with the right skills. Um, for instance, what's the name of that fancy uh, Trader Joe's was going to come to, not Trader Joe's, but one of those fancy grocery stores had a choice between Billings and Bozeman, and they chose Bozeman because there were a higher incidence of college graduates than in Billings, and that was their demo. We're ranked 50th because we don't have the skills in the trades, we don't have the entry level workers, and we don't have enough college degree people. So we either stop the people from leaving, the kids from leaving and going off and finding work in the glamorous cities, or we figure out a way to recruit a new workforce. Said this a lot lately. Billings itself has a deficit of 16,000 nurses over the next 10 years. I don't know what that number has changed to. That's a statistic from a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But who's going to take care of me when I get old, right? So we need that. Now, parks and recreation are a big reason that people want to move. It's a quality of life issue. And that goes along with the ideas of culture, and entertainment. We need all of that in a big package to say, look, there's more than just economic opportunity in Billings. It's not just a place where people come to get work done, but it's a place where people come to enjoy their lives, build a family, or live the lives that they want to with a little bit of economic freedom here. Come and work hard, be responsible, and help us build our economy. So all of those things go in. So when you say parks and recreation, yeah, I'm all for it. And I think, we've been talking a lot about um, all these beautiful things that we like to do. They are all part of a program. You've got to address those along with economic development and safety, and all three can come along at the same time. And then you can make progress on all three. I don't believe that you can just say, all right, we're going to put another 150 policemen on the street and one more psychologist, and it's going to be safe. It's a matter of walking toward a vision.
Okay, Carol has her hand up real
I'm
quick.
good.
Yeah,
Getting running out of time.
yeah. With that competition between Billings and Bozeman because of the, the students, I don't think MSU's City College program where they're trying to incorporate businesses and students and giving them 2 year degrees of and technical or 4 year degrees in technical. I don't think it's being used enough. I don't think it's being promoted enough because I'm not hearing a lot about the results. I've heard all the stuff about doing it, but I've never heard the results. And I think Rocky is another one that could do the same thing. They've done some of that on their own, but we need to promote that. We need to bring that out. We need to let other outside Montana know that we have all this good environment, good possibilities, good education, and the whole 9 yards.
You're right.
All right.
Just, I know I've got the camera, but it's at a little bit of an angle.
We got somebody else.
I was
No.
wondering, it could be.
Okay. Well, at any rate, one more question, if I may, Mike. To Democrats, probably a lot of the people were very concerned and want to know, do you support equality? Do you support trying to eliminate some of the problems that the Indians complain about, that they are mishandled and told and discriminated against, and making things much more miserable? I've been told by some that they have left Billings because the atmosphere in Billings uh, towards equality of Indians and others is wrong, is bad. What do you think about all of those things?
Well, that's a great question to give me 30 seconds to answer.
Yeah, sorry about that.
When I worked in Las Vegas, the first, we didn't call it diversity award, but the first award that I received that I thought was of any import was the National Employer of the Year for, this is their terms back then, hiring of the handicapped. George Herbert Walker Bush himself handed me the plaque in Dallas at a national convention. We'd won that again, competing against DuPont and Ford and a couple of other large companies. And here we were the seventh largest hotel in the world, but 2,700 employees. We did that. We won the award the next year, and we'd won 3 state awards for Employer of the Year for our hiring practices. So that was the old way of saying a diversity initiative. And as a matter of fact, the state of Nevada governor's committee had to change their rules so we didn't win it a fourth year in a row. I was pretty proud of that. So if you come to Billings now, fast forward and you look at my workforce, I think it's probably the most diverse workforce in the state, probably. But at least I'm very confident to say the city, and I'm proud of that. But we hire people for their ability to connect, empathize, and respect, and we hire people for their ability, not for what they are or what their problems are, right? When they're here, we'll work with them. All right. So um, different folks have different backgrounds and different ways to get to work and different priorities on whether they need to be on time or not. Or there's just a bunch of different stuff walking around this building. But let's remember what the important thing is: connect, empathize, and respect. We're going to fulfill the promises we made to our customers. Okay, so that's how we work, and that's how. The diversity initiative that the chamber started, I was the chair. That was my initiative. And we had this diversity. We raised 120,000 extra dollars a year at the chamber for payroll of the diversity officer. So I believe in it and I live it. Okay. So that's what we do.
Good, thank you. Well, we're running out of time. I'm going to see if Laura has something real quick that we can get
Thank
through.
you.
And
I had written my question in the chat a little while ago when we were talking about environmentalism, but I didn't want this to end without asking it. So, would you, as mayor, ensure that new developments in the area are as neutral to the environmental impact as possible, including stormwater management and clean energy usage? I mean, we have a real opportunity here to seed the future in any buildings, and we have a real climate crisis. We're seeing it in the news every day all across the country, and we're in a unique position now to think about what we want moving forward. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that.
Oh,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, thanks. That's two environmental questions, and the first two in my career as a politician. I appreciate that. Listen, I'm a middle of the road kind of guy because that's what you're supposed to be as a nonpartisan candidate. I don't think that I would take an extreme view on either side of it. But here's what I do believe. And like I said before to Tom, is that you need to be a steward of the resources that you're given, and which means leave something behind for the people that come after you. So I think we could get some benefit, but I wouldn't clamp down on developers who are willing to come into Billings. That being said, there are laws and there are rules, and I think at this point, if we're following the laws and the rules and benefiting the city, then it's a balanced yes. Let's bring that. Now, I don't want to say like I would let another Superfund site, which by the way the Northern is sitting on, develop in downtown Billings. We want good, responsible development that is good, that is beneficial to the city and beneficial to the people that come after us. So I don't think I really got a hard yes or no to your question, and I hope it wasn't too political, but I'm a middle of the road kind of guy on things, especially in a nonpartisan race. So that's what you're going to get from me if you elect me.
okay, well, thank you very much for taking your time to be with us this morning. I think it's been very helpful. I appreciate you've done a really good job of explaining your background and explaining your concerns. And that's really helpful for us as voters. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, and Tom Tao for ConCon.
Yeah, no, no, that was not in the con. I
I
was
thought
not,
you
I
were.
was not, the legislature, I mean, the courts said any legislator is not eligible for the con. So I
Oh,
had to stand aside
oh,
on
you
that.
poor
I was
guy.
very active in going through it, but I ran for Congress about that time, so that you may have seen that. That's,
All
and I
right.
didn't succeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye.